How do you spell it?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll call the meeting to order. Roll call. Everybody's here except for Dawn. Don't know if we heard from her.
Yeah, she had a family.
Oh, so she's excused. August 17th, 2017, regular board meeting minutes. Any corrections or not? We'll need a motion to approve.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any agenda changes? None that I know of. License and permits.
We have a temporary Class B retailer's license number 15 for Hortonville Civic Association. Peter Oak in charge, Lonzo Park Pavilion on September 16th, and 2 temporary operator licenses, number 7 for Jane Oak, number 8 for Peter Oak for that event. Both operator licenses have been reviewed by the police department.
I don't know.
I know, I'd be careful.
It's sketchy.
Yes, you do. I'll take a motion to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Abstain, opposed, passed. Pre-registered citizens to be heard. Someone done.
No.
Committee reports, library board.
Library Board, we just had a meeting this past Tuesday. We approved a tentative budget for 2018, proposed budget at a 0% increase. We were able to make some cuts with hoping to receive more community funding and some grants. So that's our proposed budget.
Police and Fire Commission.
I got reports this morning from the police commission. They had the interviews last night for a police chief. They interviewed 3 candidates, and they're making a recommendation to the village board on what ones to move forward. So I'm going to be asking to schedule 2 committee of the whole meetings, one to go over the candidates specifically with the police commission, and for the committee of the whole to prepare for interviews, and then the second one for the actual interviews, and to try to keep it moving along as fast as possible. And the decisions by the commission, I should say too, were also unanimous for their recommendations to the board.
So, did we want to set those up now or later in the?
Do we do that now then, or should we
It
do
could be
that
done
on
now.
J?
No, it could be done now.
Okay.
Oh, when do we want to get together?
First part of next week is no good for me, but you wanna?
Monday's out for me. And Tuesday.
What about Wednesday or Thursday of next week?
Thursday works better for me.
What about Thursday of next week for the first one, and then early in the week the following for the actual interviews?
That work for everybody?
Sure.
Yeah. Are you just gonna send us the times?
Okay, well, I was gonna ask now,
What time?
so should we say Thursday of next week and then Tuesday of the following for the interviews?
Works. What time?
Does 6 o'clock work?
Tuesday's not gonna work for me on the 19th.
Okay, what other date works, Kelly?
Thursday isn't, but that's, well, board meeting. That's, so we wanna do interviews?
Right, that's what the, when we first discussed the...
No, I'm sorry, Diane,
Okay.
I'm just trying to get,
Yeah, so the first one is preparation and also report from the police commission about their recommendation, and then the second meeting would be the interviews.
would we be interviewing 3? So we would...
Well, actually, I don't know, I mean, that's what the
The
commission...
potential would be 3.
Yes, correct. Actually, the potential is unlimited because we don't have to necessarily limit it to those candidates that the police commission interviewed.
So I would, I guess my question is, do we know that we can have these three guys lined up back to back on Tuesday at some given time?
It's what I did for them for the police commission.
What time would that be? I'm guessing that's not going to be a late night.
When we did it with the police commission, we had the three, and it was at 6, 7, and 8.
Oh, okay, so we did it, okay. Well, then I could, yeah, Tuesday would work for me then if we could do Tuesday. Because I was assuming we'd be doing it during the day.
So Thursday the 14th,
And
Tuesday the 19th.
at what time?
6 PM. And I'll get you the location and further details. And I'll ask a representative of the police commission to be at the Thursday the 14th meeting.
I know we discussed this, but when we interviewed for your position, we had people that were employed here. I don't think you were, but I know there was, I think, Carl, you were here, I think, basically the heads of.
The department heads were, all of the department heads were present during my interview.
Do we want Brian at this interview?
I think, I would say yes, but what I would suggest is that's what the Thursday meeting, I think that's where we need to discuss that. That's why I was
Okay.
talking about having a Thursday meeting for organizing the process.
That's fine, okay, let us know, we don't have to discuss that.
Okay.
That's fine.
All right, I'll work on location and get some material out to you guys, and I'll work on getting the police commission representative there for the Thursday meeting. That's it.
Okay, we have no unfinished business, so we'll move on to new business. Highway 15 bypass.
Is not in the budget, in the state budget. They have removed it from the budget. I've been on the phone a lot with different state representatives trying to get more information, because initially when we were hearing this, it was kind of confusing. What I've been told by Tauken's office, and frankly I forgot who else, can't keep track of who I talked to, is that the Joint Finance Committee and their transportation plan that they approved on Tuesday night, they did not include Highway 15 bypass, so there's no money earmarked for it. They specified to me and said that they did not exclude it. So what they mean is that they did not prohibit DOT from doing it. Sometimes they'll remove it from the budget and prohibit DOT from doing it. In this case, they removed it from the budget but didn't prohibit DOT, so what that means is that DOT could go forward with it if they found the money and moved it from someplace else. So, and the other part that is very frustrating, and I was still, up until we came here, was still researching it, is that Highway 23 in Sheboygan County, in the governor's budget, Highway 15 was proposed to be postponed for 1 year. So in the budget, but postpone it for a year with completion in 2022. This Highway 23 in Sheboygan County, the governor had not included in the budget and proposed a postponement for 2 years because the environmental impact statement isn't ready and because it's still in litigation and in the courts. So that one is behind schedule and has had a lower priority than Hortonville, than the bypass, than Highway 15, but that one was put into the budget. So that one wasn't in and now is, and ours was and now is not. So I've been talking with Allegheny County, Dean Steingraber, we've both been contacting state representatives, and I've contacted the media to try to, frankly, rattle cages. A couple things is that now next this goes to the Assembly, I believe it's the week of the 14th, and to the Senate the following week, and then to the governor. I feel, and so does the Highway Commissioner, that we got to keep putting a lot of pressure on to get this in. And if, at each of those junctures, the legislature and the Senate, if we still aren't successful, we got to get to the governor and even then the DOT. Back when we went and visited DOT this past July, we purposely really put, frankly, the Secretary of Transportation on the spot and asked him to specifically say, does he support it? And he said he supports the governor's budget as it is, as it was, and that included Highway 15. So we need to keep him at his word, along with these other representatives that have said that. So it's frustrating because there were several state representatives and senators that fought to get 23 in. And frankly, I feel that our state senators and representatives did not fight to keep 15 in. And I think there's one in particular that I am getting word that suggested it be removed. So,
What was that?
Steineke. So right now, this is another minimum 2-year delay. Property has been purchased, 90% of the right-of-way has been purchased, and that means that it's also off the tax rolls. So now it's going to be sitting idle and off the tax rolls for the next at least 2 years. So while that won't affect village budget in the municipalities, it affects all the taxpayers because now our levy is the same, our levy cap limits how much our max levy is going to be, but now all that land, all that property is not being taxed. So that means that everybody else is going to be paying more in order to maintain that, for that tax levy. So this is significant. I mean, it's obviously a huge safety issue. Economic development, we've got all this economic development that's going on, that we've got a 40-unit multi-family complex that goes right onto Highway 15 that's coming in. They knew that Highway 15 was coming by, or was being rerouted, and now we're going to have all those residents from 40 multi-family units with direct access on the 15. We've got the retail plaza coming in here, so obviously it's safety, economic development, and now also a revenue and taxes. Residents get to pay more now because that's off the tax roll and isn't being used.
So what's our next step?
Well, I've been contacting the state representatives and, like I said, alerting the media on this. I think it's, we've written letters before to the state representatives. I guess, again, write more letters, call them. I think it would be best for everybody to call them and ask them point blank, did you fight for this? And, so I'm still working on that, on what to do. It's just, I basically come to the same junctures that we do the same thing that we've been doing, but it's frustrating because it hasn't worked. It seems like we're not being listened to. Or we just don't matter.
Yeah, but the budget's been passed. And it didn't include the Highway 15 bypass.
No, it hasn't been passed.
Oh,
It's only gone through the committee.
This is the Joint Finance Committee, and this is their recommendation.
But it's not in the budget.
It's not in the budget that the Joint Finance Committee is moving forward. It is in the budget that the governor drafted. So it still has to go to the Assembly, and then it goes to the Senate, and then it goes to the governor.
So our only hope is that the DOT finds money in the next 2 years to move forward.
Not necessarily, and this is what I'm still learning, our hope is, our chances are to get a hold of the legislature and make them say no, 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 in 2 weeks when they vote on it, on the 14th, or the state Senate, for them to say no, 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 wait a minute, or the governor. So we have each of those junctures that we have to put the pressure on.
So start making calls.
Yes, yep. And I have several posts on Facebook about this, encouraging residents to. I'm going to put, we were able to stop the newsletter from going out in time to put that in there. And on our Facebook, I've listed all of the contact information for the senators and representatives. And I told Al before we came to this meeting, is just to give everybody fair warning, is that I am not wearing a filter when I contact the representatives or putting this on there. It's just being very blunt with it, is that it just seems like we have not been represented and nobody fought for us.
What is Greenville saying?
The Greenville, the administrator went with us when we went to Madison, as did Hortonia and New London. All of them are very much in favor of this. I haven't had a chance to reach out to the new administrator, but I know when Dave Tebow from Greenville went to Madison with us, he met one-on-one with his state, with Senator Murphy. Dave Murphy so far is the only one that has been publicly vocal in the support of this, and he showed up at our press conference. And I know that New London wrote a letter to their senator by their mayor. All of the municipalities feel the same. And it's interesting too, because, I keep hearing on occasion that, citizens aren't in favor of it. And if you look at, I know I'm not trying to say that Facebook is an indicator of it, but that's all we have right now. And all of the comments, every time I've ever put anything about Highway 15 on there, I would say 95% of the comments are saying we need this.
Anything else on Highway 15? And now we move on to parking exceptions for Dash Down Nash, no parking request.
Yeah, I'll take this. I've been working with Brett Belisle on the Dash Down Nash event. Before the actual 5K starts, they're going to have a youth run around the block there by the church, the current church, and they were asking for some no parking requests in that area for that morning, just to alleviate some of the congestions for the kids that are running around. There's 3 areas there. I spoke with Carl. He said he didn't think it would be a problem. He could help out with an employee in the police department will help out put up the no parking sign. So I guess I'm just asking for us to have a no parking designated area on a few streets around that block that morning for the youth run.
Just short term.
Yeah, and as soon as the youth run is done, we'll pull them out of there.
Which streets are we looking at?
We're looking at Nash Street from Alley 1 to Oak Street on both sides. The south side of Cedar Street from Nash to Pine Street, and then the east side of Pine Street from Cedar Street to Alley 1. And basically what that will do is eliminate parking on the road around that block. So they can run both sidewalk and curb lines so they're not so congested. I know he said that the numbers were up to like 150, and I don't know if that's total numbers or what the youth one's gonna look like, but I know that having more room is gonna be a better situation for them so they're not tripping over each other. So that's what he was requesting.
There's only 3 residences on that. Typically not a parking issue anyways, most churches don't.
You're not displacing anybody.
Yeah.
But is it, if it's both sides, right?
Well, around the block.
Yeah,
Perimeter.
I'm just wondering,
Eventually it'll be.
there's people that do park overnight on Nash, like on the east side.
yeah, and I guess what my plan is for that is maybe just those that are out there is maybe just to have the officers stop by the night before and just make contact with the residents and just let them know what's going on the next day, and after the run is done they can park there. But just permission, I guess, to put up the no parking signs and just get vehicles moved out of there for congestion purposes.
What's the time frame for this?
It's 9, the actual 5K starts at 9. I think that the youth one starts a half an hour before. I believe he said they're gonna do it before the actual 5K, which starts at 9 o'clock.
So what are they looking for?
I would say the morning of is what we discussed. I don't know, what are your
Just
thoughts on that? How do
8 a.m. to 11.
Yeah,
I doubt they'd write tickets. I was gonna say we'd write tickets. I doubt they'd write tickets. It's just more to make it more conducive to running.
right.
And what date is this?
September 16th.
Oh, the 16th is getting crowded.
Yes, it is. We got a lot going on.
You looking for a motion, Brian?
Yeah. And
Yeah,
Yeah, I think we need a motion on.
what,
I'll make that motion to put no parking signs up for the morning of.
I'll second
You'd
that.
be making a motion to grant the no parking request for the exception to the parking ordinance?
Okay.
Okay.
What she said.
What she said, just said. How do you want that word?
Exactly.
She read your mind, Jack?
I'll go with that.
I'll second. Unless someone else did.
It's already been
Oh,
seconded.
okay, sorry.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? You have your no parking. Temporary amendment of premises on the Porky's 2 Incorporated Combination Class B fermented malt beverage and liquor license for September 16th event.
This is mine. I have received a request from Mark Oak, the agent for this license. He would like to amend his premises to include his parking lot directly in back of his building and the alleyway adjacent to that. He would be fencing it in and wants to include that as part of his premises description on September 16th from 10 in the morning until 8 at night for the wrestling club tournament. We have previously granted a closure of that section of the alley to the wrestling club for their event. This is something that has been granted for at least the last several years, and Mark does include here the request that we have made in the past about fencing in the area. So we would need a motion to amend his premises according to his description here.
I'll make a motion to amend his premises according to his description.
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
Granted. Sorenson Legal Services Contract, $17,500 retainer and $140 per hour. Received this with ours. Is there any questions or comments?
What was last year's?
The figure for last year was $17,500 retainer plus $130 an hour.
Off the top, do you think you could make it on another $5 an hour? That's a fair price. I think you do good justice.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And how many hours did you go over last year? Do you know?
No,
Oh, you
but I will start keeping track. As part of the new proposal,
You track time.
I will track time. In the past, I always gave the village a set retainer and I stuck to it.
But that doesn't include other litigation
No.
as it pertains to...
No, but, you know, with the administrator and the police situations,
Yeah,
I didn't charge for that. You know, and, you know, there's some additional time in there. I don't know how much because I wasn't keeping track of it and I wasn't going to start next season. But so this is a change to my contract in that when we have boilovers, as I say, I will go to the administration and say, okay, you know, here's a choice. Either I'm going to be at meetings like this less frequently. We can do comp time, if you will. Or if it's important that I be engaged in that, then that's going to be contractual, just or an hourly basis, just like any other contractor.
How did you come up with 125 hours?
That's,
Just kind of a guess as to
yeah,
what
just
you...
pretty guess. Yeah, 'cause I haven't kept it yet.
You've never kept track of it?
No, but you kind of got an idea.
Okay.
I mean,
So
yeah,
that was-
it's an estimate, Kelly.
That's pretty close to what you think you would do.
That's what I'm thinking.
Okay.
yeah,
It's an
you
estimate.
know, in fairness to yourself, I think it's...
No, Peter, I was just curious. I mean, if it's...
Keep track of your time.
Right, absolutely.
Absolutely.
So you don't do runovers or...
No, it's
excesses?
just, I've been here for so long, and it was a carryover even from Lathrop. We always up the retainer every year, but historically, the village wanted a retainer amount, and we went with that.
I think this is truly fair and equitable. So, you need a motion? I'll make a motion to accept Attorney Sorensen's legal services contract for 2018.
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Accepted. Agreement for 12/31/2017, 12/31/2018, 12/31/2019 audit and financial report services, Gerber Rose and Associates, $17,500, $18,000, and $18,500.
This would be a continuation, a renewal of the 3-year contract that we have just finished. We had gone out for request for services just before the start of the previous 3-year contract. We are familiar, I am very familiar with the companies that do respond to our requests. They are the same companies every time, and I know where their service fees come into, so we are doing well with Kerber Rose with their services. There's another company we'd like to go with, but it's almost double in order to get them, so we're not going to be able to go there. And a couple of the companies have dropped out because they feel that they wouldn't be able to handle our business with what they already have, so I'm recommending staying with Kerber Rose. The previous contract was for $15,835, $16,150, and $16,650. So this is a little bit of a raise, but it does drop back in percentage for the last 2 years, and we do have them doing the audit for 2 more TID districts starting this year. So therefore, a little bit of a jump in the fees. The overall effect on our budget of the 4 TID districts instead of 2 will be to drop the impact on the village budget and the water and sewer budgets by just a little bit.
And it's a not to exceed amount. It's possible they could come in at less. The contract was identified as not to exceed.
So 2018's price will be almost $1,000 more than this last.
It is, but $2,200 of the $1,000 increase and the remainder of the contract is being picked up by the 2 new TIDs.
Okay.
The 16 contract was for 2 TIDs. This is including 4.
And it's $1,100 per TID. Therefore, with 2 new TIDs in here, they've increased their price a little bit, and more of it, since the increase is not equal to the total price for that, like I said, the impact on the village budget and the utility budget will be just a small drop.
Okay, so what you're telling us is for 2018, the price is $17,500. It increases $500 each year thereafter, but it's not to exceed?
Correct. It's not to exceed amount.
That's it, that's
It's
what's
in the
written into the
contract.
contract.
Page 4 says will not.
Yes, it's actual hours not to exceed.
Okay, I make a motion, unless there's other discussion.
I have a couple questions. I thought you were gonna ask that question, Peter.
I will.
No, when you said we went up, it went up by $1,000 because of the 4 TID districts.
That was a factor that was in here, but we have 4 TID districts instead of 2 now.
I understand that, but will that factor actually carry on for the following years? Or is it just that 1 year hit? And I guess my question is, if it's going up that much because of the 4 TID districts, I understand that, but then
The subsequent.
wouldn't the subsequent years then maybe have?
When we close it, yeah, they're saying.
Right. I'm
It's a factor, it's not the only factor in their contract amount. It is just simply one of the factors. I think it also has to do with what they're seeing Hortonville doing, what we have with the activities that they're going through.
I mean, we're talking about $500, it's not.
When you look at the increases, it drops to 3% for the next 2 years.
Okay.
So we have a smaller increase this coming year, but a small increase, but we have a lesser increase for
Based
like
on the
the next 2
amount,
years.
and based on the amount, obviously the increases are a percentage less because of the amount of the contract.
And we had a $500 increase from the previous year to this year's budget as well.
What was you said there were 3 bids.
There were 3 bids when we went out for this one 3 years ago.
Oh, so that was
Not this year, no. I've been involved in the request for services the last several times that we've gone out for these services. And rather than go out every time we have a contract up, Diane and I looked at this one and I told her about the last several times that we've gone out and the fact that we have seen the same companies with the same pricing.
Aren't we compelled to go out and get pricing?
Not every time, we're not required to. What we do is certain one, we do it like every other time so that we're not going out for bids on every contract that we have every year.
And that would make sense, but if this is a 3-year contract, you're only doing it every 3 years.
Yes, but last time we had, like Lynn was saying, is that there's some companies that won't bid anymore and the other ones are way out of our price range.
I keep interviewing the same companies every time we go out.
But you have not received any written.
Not this
Not
time.
this time.
I've been involved in 3 different sessions
Yeah, I
where
know
we've
you
gone
said
out for
that.
services. And
My concern is, and going back to what we had talked about before, any contract, what is it, what's the benchmark, 5,000?
that was what you said, yes.
Yeah.
we don't go out for bids on Bob. We never have that.
No.
Yeah.
I just don't want to run into
So-
a quagmire with,
Which is why I brought up the
Village
fact that
residents.
we have one other company that could bid on this. Based on experiences, we're not going to be going with them. We have a third company that we would go to, but they are in at least the mid-20s. We can't afford them, which leaves us with with whom we have had good experiences.
do you care to name the other company?
We have Havco and Schenck.
Shank's higher? I would have
They
figured.
have very good services, but we've never been able to afford them.
Someone's got to go. We're pretty high.
Havco gave us a cut rate at one point. We did not have a good experience with them over their 3-year contract. And it wasn't just me, it was several people having that one. And they have come in at least this price was higher the last time that they bid on it.
You know, we've had this discussion in the past. We talked about the benchmark. You had no other written request to substantiate the decision we're about to make. If we had written requests or responses, even if they were a higher bid, I'd be more comfortable moving forward, but we don't have that. So what I think I'm putting myself in for is double talk. I brought this up about this $5,000 benchmark, and all of a sudden we're going to award an agreement, we already did for Mr. Sorensen, for an accounting firm to do these books and audits without having a backup plan and having any other pricing. I'm concerned about that. I don't know how you feel, Kelly?
Well, I just, the last few times we've done this, I think at least the last times we ever did this that I've been here, Lynn, I think you've always gotten pricing.
No, we haven't.
Okay.
Peter wanted to change that. We had brought up, and I know that Diane had mentioned it as well, that we had felt that it wasn't necessary to go out every time, that it was necessary to go out every so often, but not absolutely every time.
But this is once for 3 years.
No.
Yeah,
We
then
can
what
do
are
it
we-
again, we'll just spend our time on it.
What are we saying? We just voted to do a contract to Bob that we did not go out for bids on.
I don't,
See, and that's my concern is that.
Then we have to do everyone.
Right, that's where I'm getting, is that to do everyone every year is, wow.
I'm not necessarily, I'm just asking a question. I remember, I thought I remember the one that we have.
Hawkins Ash and Bat, Hawkins Ash and Bat. That was at the.
yeah, Hawkins has back.
We can't show because it's an open meeting.
Tase them.
We hear a big scream out there. Just a short one.
At least a taser.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, we're kind of, we're,
We have the cart before the horse.
right, we're not
But
staying consistent here.
No,
If I may interject this, we just set a precedence again by awarding Mr. Sorensen a contract. When what I should have said is, look, maybe we should go out and get 2 more bids from 2 other firms.
To be fair.
Yeah, to be
If you're
fair.
gonna demand it of one, you
Right,
have to
you can't do
demand
it.
it of all.
And I was just asking the question. I wasn't demanding it.
Well, no, but you know what? It's public record. If anybody can go back to what our discussions have been in the past, and they can say, well, Mr. Rowe, you put for this benchmark of $5,000, why didn't you act? Why didn't you react to this? So is it uncommon to rescind a vote? Awarding excuse me, right here, awarding the contract, thereby pulling back our decision on Mr. Sorensen's contract, allowing them to go out and get 2 other bids so we don't end up in trouble. The unfair part of this is that we already know what Mr. Sorensen's pricing is.
Right.
I think you're talking RFPs, aren't you?
RFPs, yeah.
You're not talking bids.
Right.
And you got to keep,
You're right, you got to
That
do
is separate.
yeah, that's very different. And I think that is what,
It is.
that's what differentiates things here. Because if you get an RFP, then you're not just going to be looking at pricing, you're going to be looking at,
Services.
yes, a whole
Right.
array of things.
Right.
And I think, and I don't remember exactly, I don't want to try to wiggle out of this and not do what we should do, but I think what we were talking about, Peter, was that $5,000 benchmark was bids. That doesn't preclude that it can't be RFPs. I'm just saying that I think that's what our discussion.
Did we
Well-
not do an RFP on the court attorney?
Did what?
Did we do an RFP on the court attorneys?
We're working on that right now because actually our court attorney that we've had in the past is not going to continue forward. So the judge has been contacting attorneys to find out on costs and so forth. My concern on that is that there's a lot of work that goes into an RFP, the preparing it and everything, and for budget season, I'm kind of at a loss on that one. Plus, the other part is that, I think of this when we went through this proposal with the property and liability insurance, and we had gotten the two, and then there ended up being some volleying back and forth as the other companies, if you keep going out for them and asking them to prepare bids and proposals, and you consistently don't go with them, then they stop.
They won't reply.
Yeah. You lose some credibility.
So you want to treat this as an RFP? Is that what you're saying, Bob?
Well, I'm just noting that there's a difference.
There is.
I'm not, you're the ones that are in charge, but
But an RFP is a written document with all kinds of finite requests for information.
Right.
And we don't have that.
No.
Well,
I mean, I don't have a problem with, I know we've had good luck with Curver Rose. I know that the contractor that we had before that, we did not have good luck with. I do remember that. And I do remember that the other person that you've always said you liked is always much more expensive. I do remember those things.
was Hawkins Ashbapti, at one point they didn't respond, did they? Or did they respond with a bid or a proposal for quite a bit more
Yes.
at one point? So they're not somebody that you sought out this time?
well, we had them right before Kerber, and
Okay.
we didn't care for their services. That's really was the,
This is a really important service. This is not
right.
just,
But, this carries over to what Carl does too.
Yeah, I know. Well, I'm going to ask you for some guidance. Should we move forward?
Well, if you say you want to do this across the board, like Diane said, you're going to have staff time doing this, but.
I know.
But also, well, okay.
What?
Well, my concern right now is budget, because, as far as not the amount, but getting these RFPs out and getting the responses back in time, and then it awarded in time to include the number in our budget for 2018. We have a really short time frame to get all of this stuff done, to go out for bids,
is
proposals.
the Kerber Rose and take all 3 years or nothing? Can we do like 2018 and do we have to do all 3 years?
You asked for 3 years.
We asked for another 3-year contract. Yes, they would be willing to give us a 1-year contract.
So that's another option to consider. Just
Which is a possibility, could be higher.
Which,
If it was just a one.
I don't know.
Okay, but Carl, getting back to that, you have preferred providers in various categories, right? So, typically, those costs exceed $5,000. So are we going to do RFPs? Are we going to do bidding in that? I don't think so, but, that's your call, but I think you can take it to next.
I think you don't really only need 2 written quotes, for a project over 5, or purchases over 5.
Yeah, but you've vetted these through the years, and
Yeah.
you know which ones you want to work with.
It's like anything else, you have to trust your people that work for you.
I know. We just had general discussions on this issue. I don't think we ever formalized anything and said, okay, from now on, from this day forward, any contract or request for proposal or bid over such and such an amount requires this process, right? We've never done that. We just kind of, made a general discussion about this $5,000 limit.
Yeah, because I think
Do you agree with that?
the state's threshold is 25.
25, right. We talked about that. So with that in mind, because there's nothing formally set, and it's too late to really do anything, maybe we just continue to move forward until such time, maybe after the first of the year, we get into more serious discussions about how to treat these. That's my recommendation. I mean, I don't want to sit here and, beat a dead horse.
But then I think that should start in committee. I
Right,
think you're
it
right,
should.
Peter.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, let's come up with some guidelines.
Because-
But then we need to consider also the man hours that it takes for that.
And that's why we need to,
Well, yeah,
that's
we
why
know
it needs
that.
to come out of committee.
Yeah,
Because
because
we
right
just
now-
can't say do this and then
Yeah.
But
don't know somebody's workload.
I'll go back to what I said before, and I've said it 2 or 3 times. Our little shop down at 300 South Nash Street becomes a collecting point for everybody that's got an issue with the village. So they come in there and they say, well, how come XYZ company always gets this work? Okay, so what am I to say? I don't know. I mean, did they go out for bids? I don't know. So that's what I'm trying to prevent. I don't want to sit here as a
I agree with you.
Yeah, I don't want to sit here as a member of this board and have to answer these questions, which I don't have answers.
Well, you should be able to-
Then I look stupid.
Yeah.
Why aren't you, in touch with this? So I think that's what we need to do, and I agree with Bob, it goes to committee, maybe after the first of the year, after the budget's been settled, and we get into some serious discussion and set some guidelines.
Yeah.
And that would help protect us.
Well,
And actually,
And you,
I
and
think we
you.
need to decide this is an agenda item because we're really off topic and we're bordering into
Well, I know that,
meetings
we know
issues.
that. So,
Yeah, I think it's time we move on here. Are we going to do something with this proposal? We do have, if we are questioned, we do have some answers from Lynn as to why we went that way.
well, Mr. President, with that in mind, I want to make a motion to move forward with Kerber and Rose price of agreement for 2017, 18, and 19, in the amount specified for audit financial report services.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. Fixed asset update at 12/31/2017, Duff and Phillips, $1,300.
I'm the one that does the asset report, and I prefer these people. They're always easy to work with, and they always work well with the auditors, so. Again, I don't know what, it's pretty simple. It's an asset amendment report we do every year. They submit that to the auditors, and
What was the contract last year, Carl, the amount?
I believe it was $12.50 or
For 2017, it was $12.75, for 16, it was $12.50, and for 15, it was $12.30, so it went up by $20 and then $25, and now another $25. And it is under $5,000.
We get 3 bids.
Thank you.
Just to clarify.
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approved.
Sorry.
First reading of 0-8-17, ordinance amending 23.02, keeping of animals.
This was a recommendation that came out of public safety at the last board meeting. The village board directed the language in this one. So what I did was to write up the ordinance. The only change in it is in the number section there, where instead of saying a combination of no more than 4 animals, maximum being 2 dogs and 2 cats, it says now no more than a maximum combination of 4 dogs or cats. And that was the language that came out of the last village board meeting.
When you say first reading, that means we don't approve this tonight, or we
Correct.
don't approve this tonight?
No, we do not.
This is brought forward. If there's any changes that the village board deems necessary before we bring it back again, this would be the time to do that.
The other thing it does is it allows citizen input.
which we have none.
So if I'm just understanding this, nobody could have 4 dogs or even 3 dogs.
Yes.
Sure.
Well, but here it says the maximum number of dogs being 2.
That's the old one.
That's the old one, okay, then never mind. Okay, I see what you, I got it.
That's the current ordinance, and the one that's labeled 0818
That's
is the
what I'm looking
first
at now.
reading of the new
Okay.
ordinance.
Any other comments on this? Hearing none, we'll move on to total compensation package for hiring.
I mentioned this at the last meeting, in the hiring of our PD admin assistant. Budget obviously is very tight for 2018, and so what we use for the hiring of that position is a total compensation package. And the reason we did that is because if someone were to take the waiver payment that we do, or the insurance, the difference between those can be as much as $12,000. If it's, a family with kids, the whole works, that insurance package would cost us over $15,000. The waiver payment is $6,000. So when negotiating the pay of this employee, I needed to take that into account, because if the person went on insurance with the whole family, we couldn't afford it. So what I'm proposing is that we continue exploring this and using this and moving forward, and I think it's especially vital right now with the hiring of the police chief, because our former chief made, X amount and took the waiver payment and so forth. If we have somebody else come in and start at, let's say, the same salary, but then shows the family insurance plan, well, then that compensation is much higher and is no longer within budget. It's tricky because we can't, our insurance is based on age and how many people and how many children and all of that stuff, and that's not something that would be appropriate to ask in advance of hiring, obviously. So what this process does is figure out what range we can afford, and then offer a position to them saying that this is the total amount that we can offer you, and that includes health insurance, either the health insurance or the waiver payment, the wages, village contribution to retirement, all of that stuff. And then as, if, let's say they come on and they decide to take the waiver payment initially, and that's what the compensation package is based on, and then at a later date, they decide, well, now I want to take the insurance instead. This protects us that then basically they have to have a cut in salary in order to accommodate that increase in the benefit. So I worked with Jim Macy and his firm on putting, I had them review it before I did it with the admin assistant clerk, PD admin assistant, and made sure that this was legal and appropriate, and they said it is. I did reach out on the administrators network to find out if anybody else is working on this, and I posted the question and I heard crickets. Nobody responded. But this is what I'm proposing, and what I'm working on is trying to figure out what that dollar amount is of everything combined that we can offer for the police chief once we do that hiring. But I don't believe this takes any kind of a motion. I'm just looking for kind of your blessing that I think this is what we need to do to moving forward, because that is so variable.
It's a huge cost.
It is, and I'm not sure what the implications are on current employees, for example. I mean, I've been joking around and telling staff that we're putting a moratorium on anybody getting married and having children, with an exemption given if employees decide to marry each other. Because the insurance, it's so variable, and just this month I had about the insurance pretty much settled and comfortable within budget, and then I got notified that we have 4 more people that are coming on the insurance through dependents and so forth. So it's just, I think this is a necessity, and I think we're going to be seeing a lot more other communities doing this. It is used in the private sector.
Yes. I assume we're going to be talking about this next Thursday?
I hope to have some, I've been working on budget, trying to figure this out, but then, like I said, the change of the new people on the insurance made me have to start some of this over again. What I'd like to have is a total amount that I think is doable within our budget, And then if, after the interviews, then we offer it to them at that.
Okay.
Anything else on that?
Yeah, like I said, I don't need a motion, it's just that I wanted to let you know where we're going and kind of get your blessing on it.
Yeah, that's fine, thank you.
Any objections to Diane moving forward on this?
Thank you.
Hearing none, we'll move on to trick or treating proclamation. I, Al Havick, Village President, hereby proclaim Sunday, October 29th, 2017, between the hours of 3 p.m. and 5 p.m. as the official time for Halloween trick or treating in the Village of Hortonville.
Did we have that on Halloween last year, the date? Was it on a Sunday?
Yes.
It's always on Sunday, and I've actually had,
I don't think it was last year, I think it was the year before.
I thought Tracy, at one point, correct me if I'm wrong, I thought she went to the date itself.
But it was a Sunday, it just happened to be a Sunday.
Well, I guess that-
Greenville always does it on their first. Yeah.
Well, that's the big thing with down in the area I am, because we don't have it on Halloween, we can get 700 pieces of candy and run out.
Yeah, I know,
Because you've got them coming from all over.
I know. So, you're saying to do it on Sunday or not to do it on Sunday?
My preference would be have it on the 31st, seeing all the surrounding communities have it on the 31st. That would be my preference. This is what has been set up, apparently.
We've been doing this for quite a number of years this way. It was a balance of the number of people coming in against the timing with the event that we put on. We can't do the parade or the event if we're going to be holding it on Halloween and it's a weekday. And there was also a feeling that there was a greater amount of safety when we were holding it during the daylight hours. So those were the reasons in the past.
So this coincides with the parade
Yes.
and the event at the Opera House?
Right.
Correct.
The only comments I've gotten from parents was, why is this always on Sunday? Why is it not on Saturday? This is a school night. Kids will be full of candy.
But if you hold it on Halloween, it's also a school night.
It was a question of why is it on Sunday? Could we make it on Saturday? I said, there's maybe a reason, I don't know, maybe in the future.
So you're saying the sugar over to...
Apparently it makes it kind of difficult for kids to go to bed. And I have to say, I agree with that, but
I'll tell you, I noticed that having it on Sunday puts a huge strain on this community with traffic. Huge. And, you know, I'm not prepared to spend $150 in candy.
Yeah, but on Saturday, we do about the same.
Yeah, I know, but
Saturday would be just
I
as
know that.
bad.
And you can't have it on Halloween because it would
We'd
cause a lot.
be dropping half of the event if we wanted to, then that would, you know, be what we decide.
Well,
Saturday morning, 6 a.m. to 8 a.m.
Peanut section.
Yeah,
That doesn't work.
starting to file today, right there.
All right.
So what do you want?
So
Motion?
you've made this proclamation, do we have to make a motion or?
No,
Okay.
It's just
It's just saying that's what Halloween is.
food for thought for next year then.
Any other miscellaneous topics for future discussion?
I would say that with the discussion with the RFPs and bids, but I would request that we put it on the radar, but not in immediate upcoming meetings because of budget. Let's
Yeah,
make
but-
sure that we have that on the radar.
Yeah, I think this
I
is
know that they
something like,
suggested early 2018.
Yeah,
Yeah, what committee though?
yeah, that's the other thing I was gonna ask.
I would think that that type of one would be a committee of the whole,
Yeah.
because this is not public
Okay.
works projects or anything.
Committee of the whole after the first of the year?
Sounds good.
Yeah, I'm in good.
any other topics? Hearing none, we'll move on to report of village officials, administrator.
I know there's a lot, but it's a lot's going on. You should have a memo from me, some of them are quick items. The Hortonville 420th Fire District asset appraisal, I was able to find someone that does specifically this. And so we are on his calendar. I don't have a date yet, but he's gonna let me know when. And his costs were reasonable enough that the town of 420 agreed to pick up the full cost of the appraisal, so this won't cost the village anything for the appraisal. Clayton sanitary agreement, I met with the town of Clayton and was notified that they had approved the agreement a long time ago. We had been told by their engineers that it hadn't been, so they said that they have agreed to it and advised us to send them a letter asking for a copy of it and also requesting the $25,000 capital payment that the agreement agrees to pay annually. They are not ready to yet to send their wastewater here, but the agreement does include $25,000. So even though they're not utilizing the service yet, we are eligible to get that $25,000 capital payment that goes towards utility. So, yay. Violations update, we're working on Douglas Street. Bob got involved in that in sending a letter to the firm that was handling the foreclosure and sale, and that's dealing with, that's right behind the wire factory. Crest Street, after we got the Tice property in compliance, I had received a couple of complaints about the adjacent property and making sure that we are consistent with enforcement, and it had numerous junked vehicles. So I've been working with the property owner, and he intends to build a storage building to put them all inside of it. And so I told him that he needs to get a building permit for that to show commitment to it, and then have a time frame on there to get it all in compliance, and he's agreed to that. Main Street, there's the residential use in excess of the allowable percent, only up to 50% can be used for residential in the commercial district, and 100% is, so I'm still working with that landowner, but have given an extension to October 1st for now due to some medical issues. The mule site contracts, this has been confusing because I just was contacted by Bonnie from AERC asking what the status of the contract is, but it's been in the hands of the Allegheny County Corp Council for several months, and haven't returned calls. We have not come to an agreement yet because the draft agreement had a lot of responsibility on the part of the village, and we don't have the resources to do it. So we're not in agreement yet, and the meal site manager has been asking me for additional work at the Opera House and, additional resources, things that consume more resources. So, I mean, I basically told her that not until we have a contract in place, so that's where that is. State budget update, I mentioned about the, Highway 15, but these are just some of the other highlights. I won't go through specifically, but one of the highlights that are could be beneficial to the village is the third bullet there, the Municipal Street Discretionary Improvement Program, MSTID. That's the one that we had retained services of MSA to apply to a grant for. So that pot of money is larger. That's the very competitive grant that's statewide. And so given that there's a larger pot of money there, we might have a better chance. So that could come to be beneficial to the village. And then also there was initially a proposal to increase the local share to 60%, and that stayed at 50%. So that's good for us. Personal property tax exemption, we had talked about that before. The village had sent a resolution where we were opposed to this, or at least asking for them to fully fund the shortfall that the municipalities would have. And in the case of the village, it was like, I want to say 400,000?
I thought I said it was 90-some thousand.
Yeah.
Close, 490, yeah, you're right, 96,000. Anyways, the initial, this has changed since I sent this out yesterday. Right now, the funding in the Joint Finance Committee's proposal is for 100% of the lost revenue. However, it still does not account for any, basically inflation. Normally, our 96,000 would increase every year just based on assessment, increased assessment. This baselines it. So we will still have lost revenue down the road. And it also does not address the impacts that this removal of this or exemption of this has on our borrowing capacity and also on the TID valuations. So this is still frankly a negative. As I mentioned earlier, now this is the Joint Finance Committee version, and the week of September 14th, they don't have a specific date, but that's when it's supposed to go to the Assembly, and then the following week for the Senate. Village update.
The part that is estimated is, is the levy cap, and we don't have the worksheets from the state yet, but we're estimating it's going to be around $13,000 increase is our levy cap. And it was low because our net new construction was only 1.47%. And that was lower than previous year because we had really basically no commercial or industrial. It was really all residential, and that's lower value typically. I do feel that 19 and 20 are going to be better for us because of all the development that's currently going on. We'll start to see that in our assessment that comes through for the 19 budget. We'll see a lot more of it for the 20 budget. And then also if we are able to close the TID 2 like we are projected to be able to do in 2019, that won't impact the overall budget, but what it will do is as we raise that levy cap and are able to collect more levy, it'll distribute it out more because all of that, the properties and the assessment that are in that TID, now that's coming back into the general levy rather than TID, so that'll be beneficial. But 2018 is going to be extremely tight. If you recall, last year we had a $51,000 expenditure restraint that we qualified for. We told you last year that don't expect it again. We knew we wouldn't get it again. We hadn't gotten it in the past, and that did come true for us, that we are not getting that additional revenue. That was a one-time shot in the arm for us. So that means that we're down $51,000 in revenue. Our health insurance, I had mentioned, I thought I had it under control, and then I was getting ready, actually I was intending tonight to propose the insurance plan for approval and to move forward with it, but now I gotta review some things because I gotta find out if I'm gonna have to change our insurance plan again, because with the added, we had 3 dependents added, a spouse added, and 1 more employee, that pushed us up. Initially I had it down to just an $11,000 increase, and now we're back up to a $38,000 increase. So, let's see, and then some other major impacts to the budget is our police union contract increases the hourly rate of probationary officers when they go from probationary to regular permanent full-time. It's a substantial increase of about $10,000 per officer, and we have 3 that all are going from probationary to full-time at the same time in 2018. So that means a $30,000 increase in salary to the budget. And then just your general salary increases, plus the associated FICA. I haven't determined that value yet because I'm still trying to plug through this. So what all that means is the increased revenue minus the decreased revenue and the increased expenses means that we're starting out $112,000 behind what we had last year. So some of the cuts that we're looking at rolling, we're looking at different cuts from line items. Like I know Brian had mentioned that he feels that we can lower the fuel budget in PD. We've got some other ones. Rachel had mentioned that the library, I told all staff, all department heads, we got to come in at 0, and from there we're going to have to look at cuts. Some of the things that I'm suggesting with the rearrangement of the health insurance, I'm also proposing to reduce the health reimbursement arrangement contribution of the village. This is the amount that the village gives towards each employee's deductible. And I've notified the employees of all the proposed changes I'm proposing to health insurance and the HRA. So that would save us $82.50 in budget. Some of the discretionary programs I think we need to consider. Our summer rec program, currently we subsidize that by about $8,000. That's the expenses minus the revenues. We're still I increased the fee last year. Now we charge $75 for the 6-week program for residents and $150 for non-residents. This is ridiculously low. Other communities charge that much in a week. This is for the entire 6 weeks. So I propose that we make this self-sufficient. We need to have the revenue and the expenses the same so that we are not subsidizing it with tax levy. The alternative to that is the YMCA has contacted us before about doing a summer rec program where we're not in the business of providing summer recreation programming and just hand it over to the YMCA, and then we have no expenses and no revenues. this is something I really feel that we need to talk about. Also if we're talking about discretionary programs, we're talking about the youth part of it, the summer rec program. I hate to do this, but we had 1,000 towards the senior activities program. If we don't subsidize the youth, I think we need to look at not subsidizing that one, at least I'm talking about suspension of this for 2018 and maybe reconsidering it later. Staff events and wellness meetings, right now we put $15.50 in there. It's partially offset by revenue, but not fully. The Halloween supplies is 50% offset by revenue. Those are all discretionary events that I think we need to look at. And then property and liability insurance, if you recall, this past year, it came in considerably lower than we had projected, so I think we'll see a savings and we'll be able to reduce that budget item. So those are just some of the things that I'm looking at initially.
There's a fund out there that was set up a number of years ago for events. I don't know how much is in that budget.
It was a rollover, it was supposed to be spent on events, and then the events were supposed to put revenue back in so that it would stay at the same amount. That hasn't happened, we have less than $8,000 left in it.
I'd make a recommendation, we just get rid of it. We don't need it. That'll help budget.
But aren't these all budget discussions?
Yeah, they are.
Yes.
It's just a recommendation.
Right.
She's going through a list of
Yeah.
what she wants to make cuts on. That's one of them.
You said
And-
there's
and
money
I'm-
in there?
Huh?
There's money in there?
So I'm just kind of giving you a heads up that these are some of the things I want you thinking about so that when we have the discussion, I don't want you blindsided by it, that I'm proposing this, so.
There's budget in there, there's budget money left for this year yet.
All right.
See
I need
Lynn.
barricades, so that's all I'm saying.
See Lynn.
The next part is, in the past, you have wanted to have the insurance information presented to the board and then decided upon by the board. So as I mentioned, I was going to present this for vote tonight, but now I have to rethink this. I still think that it's most likely this is what we're going to go with. And again, I have notified the employees of this. The premium increase would go from 17% down to 11%, but as I said, ultimately our premiums are going to be considerably higher because of the added members on the insurance. The plan that I'm looking at, we got 5 or 6 other companies putting in proposal, and again, Arise comes in as the lowest. The other ones are just ridiculously high. And what I'm going to propose is going from the what's called the POS to an HMO. And ultimately what it does, all the coverage is the same, it's just that out-of-network is not covered, period. And it appears that the only ones that really affects are Carl and I. So the employees are taking that part of it well. See, and then the other part that I'm going to be proposing to change is the health reimbursement arrangement, the HRA. Currently, single employees pay the first $250, the village pays the rest of the deductible, and for families, the employee pays the first $500 and the village pays the rest. I am proposing considerably increasing that to single for $500 the first and the last $500 for single, and the first and the last $1,000 for employees, families. And that our total liability on that would then be reduced by $16,500, and we budget for about half of that, which would be $8,250. So that gives us $8,250 added into the budget. I'm proposing that we keep the opt-out payment as it is. If you recall, we increased it last year to $500. I feel we have reached saturation that nearly all that can take that are. What I mean by that is that, like myself, for example, I don't have anybody else's insurance that I could go on. So you could have it be $100,000 and I simply can't take it. So we've nearly reached saturation on that, and I think if we were to raise it to try to get any more out, we would not have much of a benefit because the added payment to the others that are already off would offset it. So I don't see that there'd be any value to increasing it. And I do feel that if we decreased it, that we would get more employees back on the insurance, because that's why we increased it to begin with, is that we knew some were considering coming on. And when we did this, we actually had one that was on go off. And this also played in a role in the total compensation package with the employee that we have coming on. I anticipate that next board meeting, excuse me, well, I have to have it finalized and I have to have a vote on it for the next board meeting because we need to have it in place by October 1. Actually, not for budget, this is because our plan year is October, so we have to have a commitment to the health insurance plan by October 1.
Okay.
Are we done now?
I know.
We're just gonna face this every year. It's gonna be an issue.
I do think, well, yes, for health insurance, absolutely, but I really feel confident that 19 and 20 budget is going to have us be in a better position because we have a lot of growth going on. Granted, I know some of it is in the TID, so that's not going to affect levy, but it still should positively impact our net growth, net new construction, so our levy
Which
cap.
levy limit,
Yes, so our levy limit will still be positively affected by it.
But did you say before that the net result for our levy is less with a residential than it is with commercial? Did I take
It
that
takes a
wrong?
lot more homes to offset a new
Yeah.
business coming in.
Understandable, yeah, understandable.
So we could have 11 to 15 homes coming in if we have one big business coming in.
Yeah, for a couple.
Yeah, I mean, I think
Okay.
the assisted living facility going in, the assessed value of that same facility in Appleton was 6.9 million. Just think how many homes that would be. We get about 11 homes, so we really didn't have much, if any, commercial and manufacturing. And now, right now, we've got two major, substantial, I should say, expansions in the industrial park of existing, each one about the value of a home. Plus, we've got the two new businesses going in there, and we've got a $2 million expansion with MidCon. And now it's officially got a name, is the retail center is called East Village, and that has closed, and they are moving forward with it finally. So that one is 1.1 million, and then this one, like I said, in Appleton was 6.9 million, don't know what that is.
So we don't realize it to 2020.
We'll start realizing, I think this one we'll realize in 2019.
With completion this year?
Right,
Yeah.
those that are substantially completed and maybe the mill quarry in the industrial park, that may be on there, and the two Garden and...
So by putting all those numbers in your computer, what do you think that tallies up to?
For the total assessment?
Yeah.
I presented at the last board meeting, I don't recall what it is offhand, because I had it different by category.
5, 6, 7 mil?
More than that.
Oh,
Well,
okay.
5, let's say 5.
Oh, that's 5.
Then 6.1 for the retail plaza, then 8.1 with MidCon, and then a 1.1 for the two new businesses combined in the industrial park, the new ones,
20.
and then 400 with the two expansions in the industrial park.
21.
Well, no, she was adding as she went along.
No, I wasn't.
No, she wasn't.
No, I wasn't.
Because you went, when you were adding the 1.1 million in there, you were bouncing it up.
Those two, no. What did you come up with?
21.
That's about where I was.
Okay.
And then in 2019, if we are able to close that industrial park TID, that will be in excess of 25 million back into the general levy. That's not going to improve our net new construction,
Right.
but it will spread the wealth,
Okay, good.
or the burden, I should say. Yep. I'm done.
I just wasn't sure Peter would talk.
I'm thirsty, but I'm done.
Clerk treasurer.
I just wanted to keep you up to date on this. There's been a new wrinkle with the 2018 election equipment. The companies that Outagamie County is considering purchasing from are willing to go ahead and give us trade-in deals on our existing equipment, which will in effect bring down the cost somewhat. We don't know how much yet of the equipment purchase next year. Plus, I have some ideas in the mix for how to not hit the budget for the purchase of that equipment and spread things out.
And it was a 50-50 deal to start?
It was a 50-50 deal on about a $10,000 piece of equipment.
Half county, half us?
Yes, and the Outagamie County Village Board has not finalized it yet, but they have indicated their willingness. They have taken a vote to indicate their willingness for the split, but they are waiting for the solid figures to come in before they do it ironclad.
The Outagamie County Village Board, that's
Oh, sorry.
a governmental organization. That's a
County board.
I didn't know we merged.
What the heck?
2 machines?
One.
1. So it cost us less than $5,000 with the trade-in.
We're hoping for that, yes, but like I said, they haven't come up with firm prices from the companies yet. It's all in the mix, but those are the estimates. That's it.
Director of Public Works.
I wasn't planning on being here, so I don't have.
Carl's still on vacation.
I didn't think that changed ever.
Never.
Police Department.
Yeah, so after the last board meeting, there was discussion about some problems at an establishment or one of our bars in town here, and so I was asked about the ordinance that relates to our point system for alcohol license holders. So I had Lynn, I sent it off to Lynn, and she had emailed it out. It just talks about the different demerit points and the violations. So, you know, I looked back, it looks like this was, I don't know when this was brought to board or approved, but, you know, I don't know of us ever really enforcing this unless other board members are familiar with situations where we did. I know there was discussion when we enacted this ordinance, but I don't know of a time that we have, and I guess if we were thinking about doing that, Bob and I talked, you know, I think that it would be appropriate probably to send a letter out to anyone that would be affected by this and then begin enforcing it if that's the route that we want to go. But I just don't know of a situation where we have enforced it unless other board members are.
Well, I would think if we don't, then we need to take it out of our ordinances, because, I mean, if we have it in our ordinance, it's something we need to enforce.
We, my recollection is that it came into play many years ago dealing with Hortonville. There was a period of time there.
Yeah, it looks like it was 99 and then it was updated in 7, so.
Yeah, but really, we haven't had any issues with licensed businesses in recent times, but the ordinance has always been there.
Do we want to,
Yeah.
put this on the agenda, on the future agenda?
I think it should, you know, I think it should stay there. If you do have a problem with a licensed establishment and you don't have this in place, it becomes difficult to revoke or suspend. This gives us a concrete path to suspension or revocation. You get so many points, it's just like a driver's license, and I think it's fair. But as Brian said, I think, one, just to let people know that we have the ordinance on the books, and secondly, that, you know, we still plan on enforcing it, would be a good idea.
Lynn, do we give out the license? Is there some sort of a renewal that goes out every year with a license?
Yes.
Then should this ordinance then be a part of or stapled to or?
I would think that if you're planning on having the police department being active on this, that sending something out as a courtesy letter now might be good, because it's going to be something like 7 months before the renewals go out.
I mean, because my only thought is, somebody obviously put a lot of thought into this, even though it's dated. Drinking, and I mean, I don't know that there's that updating it from 15 years ago or 16 years ago when this was done would be beneficial, unless it's somehow broken and we see that it's broken and we're not using it, so how do we know that it's broken?
Well, you could compare it to other municipalities, but I think it is fairly uniform.
So I would just say, let's just, that would be only my suggestion, is let's just, like Lynn said, let's do it now instead of waiting until the license, or just send a letter out to everybody that says, hey, by the way, this is an ordinance and we're going to be keeping a closer eye on it.
If somebody were to prepare a letter on this, then I could make sure that it goes out to all the licensed establishments.
And that was going to be my question, do we want to do notification that way, or if we do have violations moving forward, is it at that time I make notification to that specific business saying we have this ordinance and we're going to enforce it moving forward? Do we give, or do we just send out the
I would say
notification
send
to
us,
everyone?
I'll send a letter out to everyone, and then annually, each time they renew their license.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we just start putting the scorecard up, and something happens,
And then, you know, typically if it'd be a matter of police department policy as to when you send a letter.
Right.
Given the accumulation of points, you know, as a warning, you know, you now have 100 points. If you get up to 200, you're going to be suspended.
Sure. That's all I got.
Library director.
We just wrapped up our summer library program a few weeks ago. Overall, especially considering we have a lot of new employees this year, everything went really well. And the things that we fell short of our goals on or that we weren't sure about, we did learn from, and we already know how to apply that to next year's program to do things better. We served 772 registrants for the reading program over the course of summer. We served over 2,300 program attendees throughout the course of summer, which translated into thousands more visitors compared to last year, and circulation numbers being up as well. So that was very exciting. We learned that our staff that we have now are incredibly valuable for program planning and management. We had programs that were not special performances where we brought in big name performers that were just based on the creativity of our own staff that went off really, really well, including we ended the summer with a program for the solar eclipse where we had a presenter from Mosquito Hill there, and we had over 300 people. And we also had the end of summer party that same week that was hosted by the Friends that we didn't spend money on, we actually made money off of through the Friends group, and there were over 250 people there. So overall, we're calling it a success, and we're very excited about next year's summer program. Also in your packets, there was an updated version of the library usage statistics. Our visits and circulation were hugely up in August, partly because of those major programs that we had to finish out the summer. And our program attendees were also significantly up compared to last year. What that translates into is we're expecting our total 2017 numbers for library visits to be at a $12,000 or 12,000 person increase. We're expecting our circulation to be up by 8,000 items, and we're expecting program attendees to be up by roughly 700 people. And our county money, as you guys might know, is based off of reimbursement for usage. So this eventually translates into more money coming into the library in our county funding. Yes.
For next year.
These numbers affect 2019.
Oh, 19? Okay.
Yep.
So you're behind.
Yes, the county funding for libraries is, it functions as a reimbursement for past services. So our 2016 statistics are what affects our 2018 county money.
Right.
2019 with circulation, several thousand higher, so that should be master money, which enabled us to look into ways to come in at a 0% increase for budget.
Yep, exactly.
This really doesn't have, this question really isn't specific to what you just discussed, but what brings to mind is the traffic that we have in there. Are we seeing a difference in the noise levels with the stuff that Carl put in there? Is it?
I think we've seen a significant improvement with the 10 we bought last year.
Okay.
We've ordered 5 more. Well, we have them in stock, we just haven't put them up yet. It's typically something we do in the fall.
Okay.
We have 5 more put up. Plus, Rachel has walled numerous of the, you can get them with photos on them.
Yeah.
Stuff. They already have those up.
Oh, cool.
And it has made a difference.
Good.
There's a big difference between now and when we first opened up. It was quite echoey in there.
Right.
I haven't had any complaints. I don't know about Rachel, but
I mean, you're there all the time and you've noticed a difference?
When we have major programs in there, like if we have a story time program in there and there are 30 to 44-year-olds running around.
Always that.
All the party in the world is
I'm just gonna stop that as duct tape. I'm not.
Or taser.
But even since putting up the decorative wall hanging ones a few weeks ago, we've already noticed that it's better, and it'll be nice to have those 5 more up.
the 5 more are gonna be down towards the children's end, so, yeah. We no longer have that reverberation across the ceiling from that corner like we had. So, yeah, it's made a big improvement, and,
Now we need some in here.
yeah, this ain't bad, the hallway's bad, but,
The hallway's terrible, it's all hard surface on it.
yeah. But for the money, doing it ourselves, I know we looked at outside sources, and we were looking at 20 grand. We probably got 5 to 6 are doing it ourselves.
Okay, good.
I do have one, because you talked about the increase in patrons using for the programming. One question was brought up, and I forgot to bring it up at library board, but, and this might be fire department or PD, what is the maximum capacity in this room?
It's on that wall.
Is it on there?
I thought I saw it somewhere.
Yeah.
It should be posted in here somewhere.
Yeah, and we have it in the admin too,
Okay.
for when we rent out these buildings.
Because
so.
Eclipse, 300 people. It would have been raining
Yeah.
that
That
day.
was outside.
Yeah,
The
we're
sen-
able to
The
do
seniors
that
hill
outside.
is already,
Okay.
I know we've had programs where we've gotten close to the capacity in here, and what we've been doing is we've been, every time we advertise a program, we encourage people to pre-register for it. And for all of the performances and presenters that we did this summer, we had signage up specifying that the first X number of rows was reserved for pre-registrants only, trying to get people into the habit of pre-registering so we know how many to expect. And that helps us know we need to put a cap on this program, or it helps us know how many chairs to have out. There's exactly 100 chairs in here. So that helps us keep track of how many people are in the room. So those are some of the,
It's nice to see something in our village too, that we're exceeding capacity.
and if we're raining when they had the eclipse, you want to see 300 people here.
Well, you want to see the eclipse. You want to see the eclipse, but you never know. And somebody asked me, they're like, I don't even know. And I said, well, I don't know. I said, I can ask, but it is refreshing. It's nice to see.
and the last thing I have is we just started fall programming. So I have a brochure for you to take home.
Super.
This already went out to all of the elementary, middle, and parochial school students in the area. And a version of it is going out with the Village Voice, so it'll be in all the mailboxes in Hortonville. For the first time this fall, we are starting a seasonal reading program. So we will now have reading programs year-round, not just in the summer, which is kind of a cool thing that we're trying to do to get people to read year-round, not just when somebody's telling them to, in the summer or for school or things like that. So that's kind of exciting. We are modeling it after the summer reading program on a scaled-down version, so it's recognizable to people and still fun, but it's much easier on the staff. We have some cool programs going on this fall, including some new regular programs, more outreach programs. We're doing a bi-monthly story time over at the YMCA in Greenville. That'll be kind of cool. And we're also doing a lot of special programs for adults this fall, including some Wisconsin authors and programs that benefit other area nonprofits. We have NAMI of the Fox Valley and Harbor House both doing programs here that will benefit their organizations.
Who does your brochures?
I do.
Very well done.
Yeah, Owls
Nicely
does.
done.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Owls does the printing and folding for us, but we do all the design in-house.
And the paper?
The paper is Owls.
Yep. Oh, it is. Well done.
Thank you. That's all.
Thank you, Rachel.
Everything? Attorney?
One thing, Diane had mentioned some distressed properties. On the Schilling property on East Main, a sheriff's sale now has been scheduled. And I apologize, I don't have the exact date, but it's available on the Allegheny County site. It's the middle of October, I believe.
I think it's like the 12th or the 14th.
I thought it was the 12th.
Yes. Now, there'd have to be a confirmation of whoever the high bidder is, but by the beginning of November, we'll have a new owner, even if it's the bank. But that was one of the problems, is they took a judgment and never went to sale on it. So I don't know if we're instrumental in getting them to do it, but we have recent correspondence, and we just got the notice of sale.
Do you know what the value is?
That's so, mean the assessed value?
No, I thought when it went to sheriff's sale, usually there's a value there that the
Maybe
bank
about the
puts-
judgment amount.
Judgment.
Yeah, no, that would be, you could get that online.
Okay.
I'm thinking it was in the area of 70, 80,000. But with interest, I doubt very much that the bank's going to come in and bid
October 12th.
their full amount. Thank you.
Okay.
So anybody that's interested in that property, even if the bank comes in and bids their judgment and it's more than you want to bid, at least you can introduce yourself to a bank representative, or let them know that you're interested. And sometimes when you go to sheriff's sales, if you're prepared, you end up being a high bidder. So get the word out on that. That's all I have.
Next, we have presentation of accounts and other claims against the village.
The voucher list consists of deposit of payroll deductions and vouchers number 23866 through 23955 in the amount of $105,925.72. Two direct deposit payrolls for a total of $58,608.90. Water and sewer utility vouchers number 10139 through 10156 in the amount of $30,877.57.
We'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second that.
Roll call?
Aye.
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 Approved. Communication and miscellaneous business, Blackwater Lake District news.
We had a meeting on 28th. A couple things that we talked about was the dash process, which was divers going in the lake and pulling out the plants. We also talked about possibly doing something like the Village Voice, sending it out to the residents, giving them information on the lake. And Al has been re-elected or nominated for president. And Meg O'Brien. O'Brien.
Ryan's an actress.
She's moved. Treasurer. And that, Al.
No?
You guys all have a copy of that?
Yeah.
Hortonville, Hortonia Fire District news.
We had Fire District meeting Tuesday the 29th. You also have a copy of that in front of you as well. A couple things that we talked about is air packs. We didn't get the grant for it last year, but we're going to put in for it again this year. And then we had a couple quotes. We had sent it out for 3 quotes. That's the range that they came in at. And we got a meeting next Tuesday, and we're going to start talking about the budget.
Actually, Jack, I do have a question. Fire hall use, I did get asked is that rentable? Is that, no?
No.
Okay.
I do have a question for you, Jack. What's the budget that you're talking about? Right now, Diane is telling every one of her department heads 0 because we got no money. Are you willing to?
Yeah, we're just starting. We weren't going to raise it at all. It was going to be about the same, and
Right.
that's where we're at right now. It's a little hard to, this year will be tough with not knowing exactly what Hortonville is going to do, but
Yeah, it's going to be really tough. All right, thanks.
Anything else for Jack? Hortonville Civic Association.
A lot going on the 16th in town. As you all know, we moved it this year to Alonzo Park. Starts at 10 a.m. We've got a lot of vendors. We've upped the bounce houses. We've got 7 units coming in that are rather large for the kids. We're going to sell wristbands for $10. So you bring your kids down for a wristband price of $10, they can play on them all day till about from 10 to 4. We've got polka bands from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. Ernie Brenneman will be playing during the day. He's always popular. At night, we have a cover band by the name of The Bomb. They're really, really good. So this year, we've added that. It'll go from 7 to 11. There will be German beer, Spawn Farkle, and other German food served all day. Pumpkin train for the kids games. Bake-off, anything, some pie bake-off that the girls came up with, so.
Where is this going to be held here again?
Alonzo. Used to be on Nash, but we got a lot, Carl and I, and Brian Barr, in the past have run into problems with DOT and closing off Nash. So we moved it.
So with moving it, then you're not doing the hayrides anymore?
We can't, we don't have,
There's
really no,
there's no good
yeah,
road.
there's no good,
Okay.
you know.
Do you have any flyers that we could put on the website or anything like that?
Didn't Jane?
Yeah, I put it on our Facebook, and I thought you already put it on our website quite a while ago. They sent us the flyers. I think you already did it, and you forgot that you did. Because I know we
Vacation
were
was something else.
Yeah, we were both working on it.
It's on the
so.
calendar. On the
Yeah,
website.
Jane's making some handouts for the library that she will drop off tomorrow.
That's right, I did. I remember putting up the
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's 2 3-foot by 6-foot banners that I had made that came in while I was gone. I'm gonna put them up at Alonzo, and then I want to talk to Officer Barr about maybe some public safety issues that day. I don't think there's gonna be a lot of, like we had for Chocolate Fest. By the way, Chocolate Fest, the name is going away. The date stays the same, but it's gonna be called the Hortonville Homecoming. We're gonna go back to that old venue. We just have a problem with Chocolate Fest because we can't get any chocolate vendors. So why have Chocolate Fest? Everybody says, where's the chocolate? Like, where's the beef? So,
Dry milk?
yeah, right. So we're gonna change, that's next year. So that's the event for the 16th, a lot going on. Pork has got his thing for the, what is it, the baseball or basketball?
Now we got Dash Down
Oh, that
Nash.
was close.
Yeah, you were in sport.
And then Dash Down Nash. So there's a lot going on. It should be an exciting day. So Brian, if you and I could get together early next week, and then Carl, you and I about some, now that you've got that $8,500 in that discretionary fund, you can get new.
No.
Well, it hates public safety, it's,
But
I know,
can't use it until we get decisions.
I know that. Okay, so that's it, that's mine.
Before we adjourn, I would like to hear some comments from everybody on our new system of getting them online. Good, bad, and different.
It's, say it's on the paper, let me tell you.
A lot
And
of
I
stuff.
I'll tell you what I do. I save the important stuff, the rest stuff goes in recycle. I don't have a book that's thick like she does. So
Hey, it's not that thick.
this I can save to a file, which is a lot easier.
Absolutely, I like
Yeah.
it.
I like
it.
this, I really like it.
I'm glad we're doing it this way.
And before we adjourn, I just wanted to make a quick comment, is just to commend department heads and staff on, I know this has been in the library board, I know I know this has been really tough with the budget, but I'm impressed with how much everybody's kind of rallying. Nobody's drawing lines on this is my department. Everybody's acting like this is a village and we're all helping each other out to get through it. So I just got to commend everybody on that because it's been very refreshing and appreciated, as well as with staff when this information about the health insurance came down. Everybody I've talked to so far has been just wonderful about it, so.
I will make that motion.
I'll hit them up.
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?